reason. Hey, you, Gwen, before you go on, you want to watch Jason Davis. There's the fun.
Stan, you've been sitting much too long, much too long. Welcome, 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 welcome to Truth, a radio program designed with you in mind, a program whose sole purpose is to empower you, our listeners, for information leads to knowledge, and knowledge is, you got it, knowledge is power. And as always, I want to empower you to take control of your life, those things that impact you, your family, and your community. As always, too, I'd like you to go to the website at www.gwen-truth.com so you can access all of the important links that will lead you to the all-important information that will give you all of the power that you need to take control. Because you need to be in control, again, of those things that are not only going to impact you, but your family and your community. As always, I'd like you to go there too so you can take part in the poll that we have going. Right now it's running like 80%, saying that we as Americans are too dependent on government. We're too dependent on government for everything. And that given that, you know, it means that we need to be a little less dependent on government and more dependent on ourselves. We need to take responsibility for those things that are important to us to the extent that we can. And I know that there are times that it's difficult to do that, especially if you're unemployed or you're underemployed and you've really been trying to do your best to get the best job possible that pays the most money possible so that you can do all those great and wonderful things to not only put a roof over your head and your family's head, but also clothes on their back, shoes on their feet, and do all of the other things like putting food on the table as well. And sometimes that's difficult, but there's always a way. And we who know and who are believers know that God will provide. But as I was sharing with someone earlier today, God and no one else will do for you what you should be doing for yourself, not legitimately. So to the extent that we're able to do any of the stuff that's necessary and that is important, we should do that. And then, besides just leaning and depending on our Lord, which is what we should do as well, but you've got to, at a certain point, get off your knees. You know, once the prayer is done, once you've turned as much as you can over to Him, and you've let go and you let God, then it's time for you to do those things that are important, but those things that you are also capable and able to do. Okay? As has been stated, I'm Gwen Azama-Edwards, former City Commissioner, retired City Clerk, City of Daytona Beach, also President and CEO of AE Enterprises, Inc., a consulting firm on politics and ethics. And let me just do a shout out to all of you, all of our listeners. Shout out to all of the elected officials, those that took office in Daytona Beach on last night, and those that will be taking office for the county of Volusia, the beginning of the year. All of those who are taking office throughout the county, throughout the cities, municipalities, throughout the state, and throughout the nation. We congratulate you, we salute you, and we just ask that you not let us down. That is, that you, you know, meet those responsibilities that you have taken on as an elected official. Shout out to all of you, shout out to all of the voters and those who are involved in this great, great democracy. And shout out to my son, my older son, who will have a birthday this Saturday. Happy birthday, Curtis. And one of the things my mom always did with me, and that I started doing during this last decade with my sons, is that on their birth date, I would call and sing happy birthday to them. I always got a treat when my mom did that for me, and I've kind of carried on the tradition with them. And they always get excited, because sometimes I'm carrying a great tune, and sometimes I'm not. But, you know, it's the thought that counts. It always is the thought that counts. It's what is on your heart, and you're doing it from the heart. So that's what's key and important, and they usually appreciate that. And if I can't get them, I leave it on a recording, which is sometimes even better, because then they get to listen to it over and over again. One of my sons, I did that too, and he was listening to his messages, and he heard me sing over the phone, and he just turned it up in the whole office. His entire office got to hear me singing happy birthday to him, and that way he was able to tell all of them too that it was his birthday. So, you know, whatever gifts they would provide, he would graciously receive. But happy birthday to my older son Curtis, and love you, and congrats. And my guest Patricia could not believe that and I shouldn't tell this about Curtis, but I believe he's going to be 41. You know, he might be, let's see now. Now, yeah, 41. He will be 41. And I am just so happy and pleased and blessed to have both of my sons as a part of my life. My older son Curtis and my younger son Anthony. So happy birthday, dear heart. Love you, love you, love you. And we'll be down there for Thanksgiving. Both of my sons are great cooks too, and I'm so proud and happy about that. My mom was a chef, and you know, all of that, her great cooking ideas were shared and passed on to her grandsons and granddaughters, and they're all great cooks. And I got a little bit of that. My husband will, you know, agree. When I have time, you know, and the energy, etc., I mean, I can cook very, very well. But when I'm rushing, which is usually the case, you know, then you get what you get. My husband can attest to that as well. But shout out to, again, all of the elected officials and appointed officials that are in office and remain in office as well. Shout out to my older son Curtis, and shout out to all those veterans and all the programs that you guys put on for Veterans Day. Shout out to all of you for this past Monday, and shout out to all who will be celebrating Thanksgiving, which is coming up next week. And I say that now in case I forget, because we will not have a show as usual, since our show is always on a Thursday and Thanksgiving is always on a Thursday. Thanksgiving Day we will not be here. And we just ask that you take that time and make the time for family, that you take that time and make that time to share with those that you love and who love you. And even if it's a strained relationship, that you take the time and make the time to let your loved ones know how much you appreciate them and all that they've done. And, you know, even if you don't think they've done that much, you know, sometimes it's good to just say it. Thank you. Just say thank you. And if you feel it, I love you. And the word says, to the extent that we can keep peace with those around us, we're supposed to do that. So if you're so inclined, do that. But do enjoy Thanksgiving, and take the time to say thanks. And one of the things I was going to throw out too, as I prepared to bring my guest on, you know, we've been inundated with elections. You know, I ran for office. I didn't win, but in a way I still feel like a winner. But for all of those who ran and won or didn't win and everything else, all those involved in the political arena and process, I thought it would be just a great idea if we could have like a moratorium on any politics, even though life is political in many, many ways, but active politicking, if we could just have a moratorium on that between now and until after Thanksgiving, so that we can take the time and make the time to just, you know, I have peace and quiet and, you know, love and camaraderie and all that other kind of stuff that goes on. Just take the time to just appreciate what is and what's going on as I do this little test. Hold on.
No, the one in the red.
Wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful,
you.
wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
But do take the time and make the time to just say thank you. Just say thank you. And show appreciation to those who who blessed you in however way, in whatever way they have done so. And then, like I said, moratorium on the politicking, because people are already getting together and trying to decide who's going to run in 4 years for president of the United States. They're already getting together and trying to decide who's going to run in 4 years for mayor of Daytona Beach and every other kind of office there is. They're already doing that, and people do that years and years and years in advance. But for now, for this, give us a little respite. And let's just take the time to make the time to be appreciative of people in our lives and grateful for all of the great and wonderful things that have occurred or that we'd love to have occur, and for, you know, the grace of God, which is something you don't pay for, but something that you receive. So please do that, and a shout out to all of you, and please, please, please take the time, make the time to enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday, which is not this upcoming, you know, next week, next Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. Now, my guest tonight is a lady that I've had on previously. Her name is Patricia Gaines. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. And she's an individual I've had on previously who's talked about identity theft. And she's had a great, great and wonderful and awesome story to tell and to share. And we're going to get into that tonight as we also discuss there's something wonderful that has happened as well, because I was saying to Patricia that when she came on previously, which was maybe a couple of years, maybe a couple of years ago, she didn't want her last name used, and she really wanted to kind of stay in the background, and she was helping people, but she didn't really, you know, want to be out there to any great extent. And what we're witnessing tonight is a change, a turnaround in terms of that, because not only does she want to help people and continue to help people, but she also is now putting herself out there on the forefront to say to others not only what's involved in terms of identity theft, but she's also written a book. And this book, hold this up here so that you can see it, but it is called Imprisoned by Identity Theft, Held Hostage by Greed. And again, this is Patricia Gaines, and this is an awesome book. I won't lie and say I've read the entire book, but I have read many, many sections of it, and the sections that I've read have been not only enlightening, Patricia, but as a child of God, as you are as well, I really found it very heartening to find in the various pages not only information to help the readers in terms of identity theft, but to see the spiritual aspect of all of this as well. If you could just take a moment to refresh those who may have heard the show previously, or those who are new to hearing from you, share with them a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk about identity theft, and let's talk too about why you've written the book, what you pray others will get out of it, and we're going to talk too about the following that you got as a result of not just the book, but the work that you're doing now to really help people in terms of identity theft, but help them also in terms of those who might want to do the same thing. They've got information they want to share that will help others to avoid some of the pitfalls that are out there, and there are pitfalls out there for all of us, no matter what you're into. And I'm throwing a lot of things out at you, but I just enjoy hearing you share. I enjoy hearing you also demonstrate to others the strength, the inner strength that you can get being a child of God, a believer, that inner strength that you can get that can help to provide you with what you need to be able to not only represent Him, exalt Him, but truly do what we're all placed here to do, and that's to help others, to draw others closer to Him. So you got the floor. However you want to start off sharing, and then we'll go on from there.
Thank you, Gwen, and I am very grateful for being here. Identity theft is not about money. Most folks think it is. One of the golden key factors I learned as I was writing my story was that Identity theft is who we are, our true DNA with our Lord. And when I mention identity theft to most people, the very first thing they want to know is, well, did you lose everything you had? Well, yes, I did. Is your home in foreclosure? Well, yes, it is. Did I have fraudulent mortgages? Yes, I did. I honestly feel that because of the stress, the death of my husband was escalated because our world just fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
When our world falls apart and we have nowhere else to turn, we have to look to the Lord, I think, personally. And when I did that, when I stopped being angry at God, and I listened as well as prayed, then I knew my calling was to write this book and help people learn how to protect themselves, their money, but also learn about who they are. The book does have a lot of valuable information about how we can protect ourselves from identity theft. I've written many articles there on the internet, and I was telling Gwen, I write stories because people can remember the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And in each story, one of the characters made a mistake and lost everything that they owned, or most everything that they owned. A lot of them lost relationships. But more importantly, they found out who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a key factor. With the economy being the way it is right now, a lot of people are out of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I invite people in my book and on my website to contact me. Everyone has a story. We are in the information age.
Mm-hmm.
We can take our stories and we can write them and benefit other people and help other people not to make those same mistakes, or to help those people learn a new trade, a new skill. So I think it's important that we take time to listen to the Lord with a pencil and a paper instead of a computer, and write our spiritual gifts on one side and our worldly gifts on the other. And when we combine the two, the puzzle is complete. We'll be able to know exactly how we can help other people. My goal right now is this. On change.org, I have a petition going, just started it, and it will be presented to the Board of Governors of the United States, and then it will go from there all the way to the President. The prime focus of that petition, I don't want money, no donations please, just sign it, because we want to make them aware that this is going on. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Without awareness, people will continue to make mistakes. And what we don't realize is this. We have the phantoms, as I call them in my book and in my articles, of identity theft, doing nothing but collecting information about other people. They don't always take a lot of money at once. They'll take cigarette money, gas money, things that they really don't need, and then they'll garner even more information,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll get the retirement, and then, or else they'll get the equity in the life insurance, or then next it will be the fraudulent mortgages on the home. One other thing I would like to mention is this. I have a wonderful attorney now who is helping me fight the fraudulent mortgages. He's right here in Daytona Beach. His name is Gary Fox, and he's a foreclosure defense attorney. And one of the articles that I wrote, I believe I titled it, "Are You Fighting a Fraudulent Mortgage and Can You Win?" And the answer is no, unless there's help.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate after this radio show that I did, the first one with you, Gwen, a woman moved into town, and she was a fraud investigator. We had lunch together, and I didn't know that's what she did. And she's retired. And in the process, I made a comment that I had just done a radio program. And she questioned me, and while we were eating lunch, and I thought, these are strange questions from someone I don't really know. Well, make a long story short, she said, bring the papers that you have left. And she said, bring them up to my motel room, and we'll sit there and go over them. She took one look at the mortgage that I had been served with, the summons, and she said, that's a fraud. I said, I know it is. And she said, well, I'll show you where it is. And she went to the pages and pointed it out. And so when my attorney, Gary Fox, came on the scene, this was a couple years later, okay, he didn't want anything. She said, let me see the mortgage. And he looked at the mortgage and he pointed out exactly what she had done. So, yes, they can sign our names. Our signatures are public record. It's easy enough to copy and paste. It's easy enough to get false ID. It's easy enough to get a duplicate driver's license. And with a duplicate driver's license, they can open bank accounts. For $36, they can get everything they need with us. All the information that we have, even our Social Security number. Or about $22, they can send email messages out in our name. Every email message that is sent from my accounts, if it says the word me on it, they get reported. A lot of people won't look at their spam, and rightfully so. However, we need to know our enemies and be close to them if we want to be able to protect ourselves from them. And again, it goes right back to who we really are. And why identity theft is not just about money. A phantom of identity theft can be shame. Think about it. They want to take our souls. They want to take our spirits. They want to crush our hope. A phantom of identity theft can be guilt. It can be anger. It can be most any emotion that we have that is not good. And I'm doing a study now on the difference between emotion and passion. There's a fine line. They're very closely tied. And unless we're able to listen after praying and really listen, sometimes we don't know the difference between emotion and passion. Emotion is what we build worldly. Passion is what we are gifted with. It's one of our spiritual gifts. And so those are the kind of things that are written in the book in a way that I hope people can understand it. The death of my husband, the death of my mother 1 month later, the way that we had tried to fight it on our own and couldn't, finding an attorney who actually looked at it and said, you have a case. The fact that this woman just moved into town and was a fraud investigator, and we had lunch together. So God will open doors.
Yes, He will.
You said a few minutes ago, you said that we, and I'll paraphrase this, we need to be able to move on and not allow ourselves to live on or have the government take care of us. And I totally agree there. Even if there are no jobs, we are still in the information age, and everybody has a story. Perhaps someone out there has been able to overcome a drug problem. Think about it. How many people could you help if your story was written. Right now, I'm working on a story of a Vietnam veteran who's been married 5 times. And he's been through therapy, and he can't figure out what has been causing these relationships to go bad. Well, they're the phantoms that want to take him and destroy his family life. So phantoms can be anything that will cause us to become restless or uneasy. And we hear a lot about gut feelings. And that when we have a gut feeling about something and it's not good, that's where the phantoms want to hit, because it'll go right to our heart. And when they hit us, as in my case, I almost lost hope. And when we lose hope, then we've just entered into their world. Mm-hmm. And they have a world. It's there and it's real. And the only way that we can even think about getting out of that world is to be grateful. Or that's how I did it. I had to find something that I was grateful for after losing a career and everything. So I started praying, and I was grateful that I had a bed to sleep in. Mm-hmm. I was grateful that even though they had taken all my money, I could go to the store with $10 and buy some food. I was grateful that I could put a little gas in my car. And slowly the hope began to build. Mm-hmm. And then I met you, and I was on the show. And from there, the book evolved.
Mm. And you know, the word says, because there may be some non-believers out there, you know, that's okay if that's where you are now. But the bottom line is that the word says that to the extent that we're grateful over the little things, that God will actually bless us to have even more. And He will build on that. But if you have a little and you don't know enough to be grateful for that, then why should He give you more? For you to be even more, express even more ingratitude. You know, that's what happened with the children of Israel when they were out in the wilderness. They kept complaining and complaining. God does not like complainers, I tell you. He loves those who will be grateful for whatever it is that they have, and to the extent that you are, then He will add to it. But you know, even if you're not a believer, as you talked about the phantoms, and you and I were talking earlier, the bottom line is that there are those people who have had things taken away from them, even in terms of their identity and things related to that. And because they felt that, you know, it was something I did, and they're embarrassed or they're ashamed, those phantoms you're talking about. And so as a result, they don't try to move forward and take the steps necessary to take and regain control of their lives, and of who they really are. You know, they don't feel that secure within themselves. So as a result, these phantoms keep them down and keep them, take away their power, and make them feel so insecure and everything else that your hope turns to despair, and the despair turns into something else that makes you want to actually end it all. And you know, again, as children of God, we know that that's not God. That's the other side of the non-good. That's the side of evil. So you need to then take control and regain control, and that means to not let these things that will make you not report and not fight for your name and not fight for your ID, your identity. Those are things, again, you've got to retain and regain that hope that will ensure that you continue to work toward and become the person that God intends for you to be. And whether you're a believer or not, know that there's a purpose for you here, and that purpose, in order for it to be fulfilled, you actually have to get to where you are at your best. And in order to do that, there are things that you need to realize about yourself. As Patricia said, regain that belief and knowledge of who you are. Because when you know who you are, then the world can't make you be whoever it is they want you to be. Then you are who God wants you to be, or you are at your best. And it's when you're at your best that He can truly use you. As I was talking to a friend of mine when I was in Colorado, my good friend and best friend, Kathy, and she's recently retired, and I was saying, that I had a guest on, and she was talking about how someone actually started taking her home from her and dealing with a mortgage over the internet.
That's right.
Yeah, she found it hard to believe that such a thing could happen, and you alluded to that a little bit earlier, but share with our listeners, just because what people don't realize, I don't think, is how easy it is.
It's very easy.
Yes.
There, in the last several years, there are some laws now that are being enforced, and it's a little more difficult now, but they're still doing it. And we just need to think about what really happens when we have a mortgage. And there's an underwriter. One person makes that choice. And that's their job. They're inundated with paperwork. So they look at the paperwork, and if it looks okay, then they sign off on it. They don't know who we are. They really don't know who we are. And they are overworked, actually. And when that happens, and the title company doesn't catch it, and when mine happened, there was everything with mine, just about everything with mine, whatever documents they had, mostly was with computers. And my mortgage actually started with a telephone call and then went to the internet, and it was sold, I think, 4 times before we found out what had happened. And by the time we found out, it was too late because our identity was already gone. Heaven knows how many people have that identity. I had some credit attorneys, because I had my credit score, mine and my husband's, was very good. And so at the time, we had, credit attorneys helping us. We did not know that we needed a defense foreclosure attorney. We called every government agency, including the FTC, you name it, we did all of that, everything. The problem is this. The mortgages are still getting done just the way they were back then, only not as many, but still, they are. So whenever you sign your name, be very cognizant of how you sign your name, because it's the little curves, the way an I is placed above a name, or how a T is crossed. Those are the little things that the phantoms can't always get right. And also, be very cognizant of who does the notary for any document. I always go to my bank now, because that's a good, safe place to go to get anything notarized. And again, identity theft can take our money, but let's just think about this. Whether we have no money, or whether we have a little money, or even if we have a lot of money, if that's all we think about, then that money becomes the phantom that controls us. When that happens, we're not open to hearing God speak with us. And in the book, I speak of the law of attraction quite often. A lot of people believe that, and that's a good thing, I guess, because thoughts do become our thing most of the time. My grandma used to say, "Be careful what you wish for; you may get it."
My husband says that all the time too.
Yeah. So, but the key is we have to learn to listen to that voice inside of us, that feeling inside of us, to let us know what to do next. If we're left on our own, then we're not going to make the right choices. You know, we have the power to choose.
Yes.
We don't have the power to choose the consequences of our choice. And when we choose to do little things like use a debit card, even at an ATM machine, we don't know if there's a phantom lurking around the corner that we don't see that can put a little film inside that chip, inside that ATM machine, and get the information. We don't know that. And I wrote an article about that. There was an article about Kendra and how she didn't get her law degree because her family had identity theft. And so she's a waitress, trying to work her way through college. Children and the deceased are the most vulnerable to identity theft. So people, be very, very careful with your children. Look and see if their Social Security number is being used. And also, if someone dies, when my husband died, his identity was still being used. Okay, and so those are the kind of things that people really need to be very, very careful about. Don't ever put a driver's license on a check. I don't write checks. So people are saying, well, Patricia, you're telling me that you had everything on a computer and it was through a telephone call and a computer that you had everything lost and stolen. Yes. But the computer is really the safest place you can put things now. You've got to have the right spyware. And fortunately, I've been able to learn that. When my hope came back, I buried myself in my computers until I learned how a hacker thinks and how to stop them. And I learned what kind of security measures I needed to take to protect what I have. So now, if someone tries to break into my computer, and they can have at it, you know, simply because I'll know you're there, all because of the kind of spyware that I have, the kind of firewalls that I have, the kind of antiviruses that I have. If I get an email and I open it, there's a big block that comes up on my computer, red. Trojan just blocked. You know, those are the kind of things that people need to know about. And guess what? It's free. It's on the internet free. The key is to know which one is the real one and which one the hackers, the phantoms have put up there.
Now, do you talk about that in your book, those free ones, or
And
you prefer that they get with you?
Well, they can get with me. When I wrote the book, my intention was to help people understand that financial identity theft and medical identity theft,
Real.
they're real, and they don't necessarily start with your computer. And that was where I was when I wrote the book. However, the publisher is just begging me for a sequel. Well, the sequel to the book will definitely have that in it. And the sequel to the book, I'm going to discuss the mortgages and how they get, in our homes. One of my mortgages has been released, But the other one, I'm still fighting the bank who, no, they know that's a problem. You know, but if mine gets exposed, then there are others. I am not the only one, and that's something else people might want to understand. You are not alone. You're absolutely not alone. I think I just heard some statistics the other day. 90-something% of Americans have had some form of identity theft and don't know it.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's cells of these phantoms that live among us, and their intent, their one intent, is to destroy us.
You know, I did something the other week when I was in Colorado with my friend, and I went and I purchased one of these hotspot from Verizon, but them and that company. But one of the things the guy was saying to me, and which my girlfriend was saying too, is she said, you know, we go in these places and it's a business and they allow you to use their their Wi-Fi and all this kind of stuff, and we just go ahead and we go in and stuff, and actually that is an unsecured site. And what you're doing is opening yourself up to identity theft and anything else possibly that could be out there. And so you're better off having your own secured hotspot or whatever else. And because I was saying, well, you know, I'll get it and then I won't use it except when I'm in a place where they don't have it. She said, no, you should use your own all the time, your secured one. And for all of those who are out there then who don't have that, and we're using this and using that, you're really opening yourself up. And I was happy to hear you say, and you and I had talked about the online of paying bills online and stuff like that, because I've started doing more of that. My young son, he said he will not do it, but my older son talked me into it, and I've been doing more of it. And I was happy to hear you say that that is the better way to actually do that. In terms of bill paying and the like, and you know, you still can't get around some kind of check writing in some form or fashion. But I know my older son, when he does his check writing, there's a company he uses, and they will do it up and they'll send it to, and it's not, you know, so there are ways of getting around a little bit of everything. What are you finding, Patricia, as you're, you know, you've written your book and you have a sequel that will be coming out where you will be naming names, so to speak, and you now have an attorney who's working with you in terms of your own foreclosure and mortgage issues, and you found that there are these phantoms, and there are, I mean, it's just so easy for someone to actually come at you and take everything that you worked so hard to gain. And not only yours, but as you've said, even your children are vulnerable. You know, your parents are vulnerable. How do you live with that knowledge? Because I know early on when you came on, you know, it was like you were saying, the hope was at times vanishing because of the, you felt so vulnerable. And in many ways you were, but now as you're saying, you've strengthened yourself in such that you know, firewalls and all this other kind of stuff in place that's kind of safeguarding you, and it makes you feel more hopeful and more secure. But you know, for a person who's not yet there, and they're just becoming aware of the fact that this kind of thing exists, you know, how do you deal with that? I know you've said that you can't do it by yourself. You need to really be, you know, have this kind of the right relationship with our Lord, and you know, equip yourself, protect yourself. But for somebody who really feels there isn't any hope, and they feel so vulnerable, and they're allowing other people to say who they are and kind of dictate what they should do, you know, how best to deal with that? That's a long question, I know, but I think you understand what I'm getting.
I do, and
let me say before you start, so that I don't have to interrupt you, you're listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. My guest is Patricia Gaines, and Patricia has written this book, Imprisoned by Identity Theft, Held Hostage by Greed, and it's available, and she's going to share how you can get a copy because it's selling very well. And we're talking about the sequel she will be doing as well. And she also helps others to get their books written as well. But again, you listen to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards, and This is WLE 1380 AM on your radio dial in Ormond Beach, Florida. So I have to do that identifier so that we're, you know, doing what the FCC wants and needs us to do. But share with us if you would.
Well, the one thing that we can fear is fear itself. So we can't live with the fear. And if we try to live with the fear or allow ourselves to live with that fear, we're going to lose hope. Because everywhere we go, we'll be thinking, are they there? Are they going to take my money? Are they going to take my Social Security? Are they going to take my medical records? And yes, they will, okay? The fact that you got the little 4G hotspot is a good thing. That was a good move. People look at it and they'll think, well, you know, it's a little more expensive. Well, just how valuable is the identity that we own? I mean, that's worth it. There are just certain things that we have to get. Now, I have a little hotspot. I keep it at home. I take it with me. It's everywhere. The new person that is listening tonight and hasn't really thought about it, become aware of what's happening. On my website, I've got a great video from the FTC, and it actually shows how to start protecting yourself. But you can't just get the software, and you can't just get the hotspot, and you just can't check your credit records and forget it. No. These people, these phantoms, have one intent, and that is to crush us any way they can do it. They sit at their computers, or they pick up the garbage, or they clean our carpets, or they ask for unnecessary information at a store. You don't know who they are. They look just like us, okay? So the key is to first become aware. I'm beginning an awareness campaign. That's my passion, not my emotion. My emotion when I first came here was fear. It was just almost to the point of hopelessness. And now it's my passion to see as many people become empowered as possible. And if you've already had identity theft, just walk through that door that God has opened for you. I talked the other day with a very prominent person here in this town, and that person's spouse had had identity theft. Because of the job that he has, he doesn't want anybody to know it. And they had almost the same situation I did. Okay, I understand how hard it is. I had that fear. I did not want to write a book. I didn't want to write an article. I didn't think I was capable. But then I realized if I didn't walk through that door of fear, it was going to control me, as you say. So when we walk through the door of the fear, and it does have a door, there's a little crack in that energy of fear. See, the fear is black, very, very dark. Okay? There's a little crack in that energy. And if we just take that and just move it a little at a time, we can eventually get on the other side of it. And then it'll be an open door that we've gone through and overcome. I don't like to use the word overcome, but that's almost what we have to do. We have to get through that fear. We have to learn that our thoughts can become our things if we dwell on them. Worry is a great way that the phantoms love to use to get to us. If we just think about it, if we worry about something, are we being grateful? No, we're not at all. So worry is a skill these phantoms do to us. And I just wrote an article last night, I believe it was published this morning. An unsecured mailbox. Go get a post office box. Don't let any mail come to it. And the bank will work with, my bank works with me. Everything goes to my post office box. Okay? There are just so many little things that can help prevent identity theft, or else make it harder for them to get
Right,
it.
yeah.
But if they do get it, it's not the end of the world. I mean, feel like it. They've stolen identity. They've stolen us. But our identity is not what we do, and it's not how much money we have or don't. It's who we are, and we are creators. We are creators. So we can create our identity or help it evolve through that fear, and that's the way I look at it. I know that fear was my biggest obstacle, so what I had to do was create a way, but I did it with prayer and listening, and created a way to get through that. And I can recall first time I published an article, I just wanted to hide under the bed. But we can't go hide under our beds. We have to be thankful we've got a bed and we've got the covers.
Now, where are your articles published, and do give your website as well?
Okay, my website is www.patrcigaines.com. It's Patricia with no I's in it. Couldn't get Patricia with the I's in it. So it's Patrcigaines.
In a way, you know, that speaks, and I think we said that when you did your first show, that speaks volumes, because we're talking about identity theft, and so you're taking the eyes out of it, because that's how people, you know, get to your identity, through those eyes of secretive eyes or whatever else. So I just thought that was just so, it just spoke volumes. The fact that you had Patricia without the eyes, so.
I guess it was meant to be.
Yes.
The sequel to the book, going back to the question you asked me, the sequel to the book will give a lot of detail about that. But if anybody would like to know and would like to have a newsletter, I'll be glad to begin a newsletter. I mean, my articles actually are newsletters. To find an article, just Google my name, Patricia Gaines. And you'll find me. I'll just come right up, and you'll see some articles that I have written about, most of them about identity theft. I have two subjects really that I use. One is identity theft, and the other is hope. Again, if we lose that hope, you know, we can't have the faith to move forward. So we've got to have that hope. And that's where they get us. They get us with hopelessness. So if anybody out there is feeling hopeless, where do I turn? I feel like I'm in this box and there's no way out. I want you to know there is a way out. Just have that little bit of hope. Habits take 30 days to learn. Okay? So what I did for 30 days, I had my little pen and paper, and I wrote down something I was grateful for in the morning, and I added something to it. I'm going to accept a blessing today. I didn't know what it would be. And within 30 days, I knew that I was very grateful for what I had, and guess what happened? The blessings started coming. Now, sometimes they were small, and then again, I've had some really tremendous blessings. But if I had stayed in that hopelessness of depression, then I would not have been able to say to people, I was imprisoned by identity theft, and I'm still held hostage by greed. They still want that house. And it's not about the house at all. It's about the fact that, okay, prove it to me. Prove it to me that I did that. unfortunately, they haven't been able to do it in all these years. So we just have to stand firm and listen. I also have a phrase that I use a lot. We humans are so busy being busy, we don't have time to be human. So, it all goes back, and I sound redundant here. Forgive me for doing that, but I know the hopelessness. And for those of you that are listening, find something to be grateful for, morning and night. Wake up in the morning. Okay, today something's going to happen good. And for 30 days, I promise you, if you will do that, and I teach this in my articles, I guarantee you your life will change. That worry and that hopelessness will start to dissipate into the ether, and then the phantoms will catch it. We're never going to get rid of the phantoms. They're always going to be after us, and they will especially be after me after this radio show tonight, and that's fine.
And I have to say to our listeners, if you were to go to YouTube, and one of the first shows that I did to upload to YouTube was the one on Patricia, and if you were to look at that I'm going to remove one, but I'm not going to remove both. There are a couple of them that are there, and they were like upside down and green. You know, something that would make people not want to look at it or to listen to it or whatever else. And even at that, more than a dozen people did go and did listen to the things that she was saying, what she was talking about. But it was almost like after I saw that, Patricia, I was saying to myself, well, gosh, I see now why she was a little hesitant. I said, geez, I mean, if there was an enemy or something trying to attack and really try to make sure that people are turned off from that show and don't want to hear and see what's going on, that would really be a total turnoff for them. But, you know, God is still able. And if you were to really see Patricia then, the Patricia then, and the Patricia now, and how then, you know, you have been talking ongoing without me even sometimes even asking a question or saying anything, and then it was like I was having to pull information out of you. As much as you were saying you wanted to share, you wanted to help and stuff, there was that fear that was there, and every time along the way, as much as you said you wanted to share, I mean, I was having to really kind of pull information out of you continually. And then in addition to that, you know, with all the things that you had gone through, really just that, even the sharing. Once I got you to say some things, you know, you say a little bit and then you stop, and you say a little bit and you stop. So that fear was really, as you were saying, you really were imprisoned by the fear, and then being held down by the greed of the companies that you were trying to work with and trying to get them to work with you and the like. And as you said, some of that's still happening, but you're not imprisoned anymore.
No.
I mean, the shackles have been, you know, dismantled, and you're really out there, and you are empowered. Empowered by God, empowered by hope to really, with this passion, go out and share and help others. And as you've said, you know, it's about empowering other people. This show is about empowering other people, empowering people to be their best and really to do what we're all really here for, and that purpose is to help others, to share God's love and share that hope that only comes from Him and through Him.
That's right. That's exactly right. Without that, we might as well just crawl under our bed and stay there. And you were right. I absolutely was so afraid. And I was afraid the day you met me and I was speaking with these people. But fear can turn into empowerment if we give it the right channel. And the right channel to get it there would be to be grateful. Let's just be grateful for what we do have. And we hear that, and it's a cliche, yes, I know it, but it works. It really works. There's something about writing one little sentence in the morning and one little sentence at night until we really get it. And I have to be honest with everybody. I cried all the way through this book. I did, you know, and I prayed my way through this book. Because I didn't want the book to be a book. I wanted it to be a message to let people know. And yes, it's a dark book. It's very dark. And but that's okay, because there's a light there too.
And you know, it's said that tears, I read this somewhere years ago, that the tears are what waters the seeds
Yes.
that God has planted in us, and the seeds that we attempt through God's help to plant in others. And tears, no matter how salty or sweet they are, they're also a release in many ways of what's in us that needs to come out. And so I thank God many times for the tears that I shed, and I thank Him for really releasing me as well from the worry and the fear that stymies me and really keeps me from being what God would have me to be. And I think many times we can ask God and question Him about what is happening, why it's happening, and everything else. But we've got to trust and believe that whatever happens in our lives, some of us say it's just a test, but it's another opportunity just to show God just how much we love Him and how much faith we have in Him and how much we trust Him, that we're not looking to our own devices, our own strengths, our own whatever, but we're looking to Him to give us what we need to just keep on keeping on in His name. So I thank God for you, Patricia. I thank God for how He's using you in this special, special way. And I remember back then too, we were talking about seasons in our lives, and we were talking about how God really and truly, if we will allow it to happen, that we can take our circumstances, those things that we go through, as Paul writes in the Bible, take those things and allow them to not be disappointments and the like, but be opportunities for change and opportunities that are truly that will challenge us to be our best and to be all that God would have us to be. So hopefully for our listeners, this hasn't been too religious or too spiritual, but it's been truthful. I can tell you that it's definitely been truthful, and it has revealed through us. And we're all just really instruments that we allow ourselves to be. We're instruments that God can use to really, through us, help others, and through us share His message. And so I thank you all for listening, and I particularly thank, again, my guest, Patricia Gaines, and share with them how where is your book, and how can they get a copy, Imprisoned by Identity Theft, Held Hostage by Greed. And again, your website as to how they can contact you.
Okay, my website is www.patrcigaines.com. The book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, in other countries, in other languages. It's everywhere. And
it's a guy good, I tell you.
He is great. He really is. The sequel to this book, I just have to share this with everybody. Yes, the sequel to the book is about the fight. And yes, it's going to be some dark too. But it's going to be a comedy. Because I've won.
That's right. We have the victory.
We have the victory, you know. And I won by becoming and knowing who I really am. And that's the key for every human being.
Oh, isn't it the truth? You know, people will think they win, just like with my campaign and running for mayor, that I would have been a winner by becoming mayor. But you know what God showed me was that I won. At the end of that, I won because I became more of who God wanted me to be. I really discovered more about myself and started to blossom as a human being. And those people who were around me and saw me during that campaign, I heard you saying, I really heard you saying that, boy, she's different. There's something different about her. She's really changed. Boy, I enjoy being around her. She's a fun person. And you got to know Gwen as God intends for her to be the real Gwen, the real deal. And as much in my life as I've tried to be real with everyone and be real in the presence of anyone, there was always, I think, something that would hold me back. And that's true for a lot of us. There's something, as much as we think we're real and 100%, you know, the real deal, there's always something about us in our lives that kind of holds us back. Maybe we don't want to be, you know, hurt. We don't want people to hurt us and not see something they don't like or whatever. There's something that holds us back. But you know, when you're you know who you are and whose you are, and you allow God to actually transform you into that person that He wants you to be. And there are circumstances and events, etc., in your life that if you will allow God to do that for you, to open you up and to change you into what He wants you to be, if you will just allow that thing to happen, you will be amazed as to just how secure you can and will be within yourself. And not only that, you will be amazed as to who this great and wonderful and beautiful person is that God has in you. Would you agree?
I would agree.
He's awesome. He is awesome. And guess what? The Him in you makes you awesome as well.
That's right. And I still have this. They're still foreclosing on my home. If I lose it, I've still won.
Yes, absolutely.
I've won. And that's key.
Oh yes, it is, it is. And as I say, as I think back to the Patricia that came on my show some over 2 years ago maybe, and the Patricia that sits here now in front of you guys, and hopefully you will go to YouTube because I will have it up within the next few days, and compare, you can and will see God's transformative power as shown in this lady and in her life. And you will see the difference between the Patricia then, who was still operating under fear, and the Patricia now who has been empowered by God to be used to really be a blessing to so many. And there's a reason that her book is out. There's a reason that it's been translated into so many languages. There's a reason that that people that they're getting this book is because of how she has allowed God to use her to be an instrument to so many. And again, it's just such a great honor and privilege to not only meet and talk with you. And you know, we've never shared really how Patricia and I have gotten together. And this has happened with a lot of my guests, you know, where I didn't know them, they didn't know me, but they sent me something and said, I would love to, you sent me something and said, I'd love to be on your show. And she sent me something about, you know, what she had gone through and the like, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know now. But, you know, I just allow myself to be just led by God, and he was saying, yeah, you know, this is the time, go ahead, have her on your show and see, you know, kind of what comes of it. And as I said, I really was expecting that you would just start talking and sharing so much because of all that you've gone through, but to have to pull that out of you, and the fear that, again, was exhibited then, which is no more, and I just thank God for how He is blessing you and using you. And I know because of where He's brought you from, that you're going to continue to allow Him to use you. And it's just such a blessing. And as we get ready to go, and you know, to go off the show. But to go into the Thanksgiving season, I'm grateful to God for you. I'm grateful to God for our listeners. I'm just grateful to God for where I find myself, and for all of you who, as Patricia has stated, you know, you've lost hope. You feel, you know, that you're just in a season of hopelessness. There is a reason for hope, and there's a purpose for your life, and whatever it is that you're going through, you know, God can use the good, the bad, and the ugly in your life to turn it all around and to use that as a seedling for what He is going to do for you and through you in the next season that you're going to go through. So, you know that that there is a God, and that He loves you, and He has a special purpose just for you. So as we go into the Thanksgiving season, let us all give thanks. You know, whatever your circumstance, however you find yourself, just say thank you, Lord. Every morning get up, and I'm going to have Patricia share with you what it is that she's saying she gets up in the morning and says, but before you go to bed at night, say thank you, Lord, and when you get up in the morning, say thank you, Lord, because, you know, there are others who didn't make it. There are others who wish they could have the opportunity of just saying those, you know, few words, those 3 words, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord. And what is it again that you say, that you suggested they say?
Well, I say in the morning, I want to thank you, Lord, and thank you for life, and thank you for a beautiful world to live in. And I want to thank you for the blessing that's coming my way today.
Oh, yes.
And then at nighttime, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this beautiful world. And I want to thank you for whatever blessing came that day. It might have been just a smile from somebody that was unexpected. But very soon, after we all start doing that, the blessings will start coming, and they will start coming,
Absolutely.
and they will start coming.
Absolutely. And as I start out with the show, as we get into this Thanksgiving season, and we're into it, you know, and every day is a great day to just say thank you and to express some type of gratitude. But for some of us who don't do it except on Thanksgiving, let us be grateful for whatever, you know, whatever sliver of hope or goodness that we find in life. Just the fact that you're alive, that you're breathing air, and that you have the opportunity of just encouraging somebody, and as David did, even encouraging yourself if no one else will encourage you. Just know that you're loved, and know that every day that you're alive is a great opportunity. It's another opportunity for you to just have blessings come your way. And if it's about, you know, attitude, it also does allow you to have a great altitude in life and in your perspective. So we want to say from Patricia Gaines and myself, and if you go to the website, you'll find this. If you didn't get Patricia's spelling of her name and everything, you'll find her name on there as a guest for tonight, and that's www.gwen-truth.com. So from Patricia Gaines, as well as myself, Gwen Azama-Edwards, you've been listening to Truth Radio, and like you, hey, we're still standing, and we're still giving thanks, and we're still so grateful for every day, for every minute, for every second, because none of that is promised to us. But to the extent that we receive it, we are grateful, and to the extent that we use it in helping others, again, in empowering others, because to the extent that we give, to the extent we bless others, we also are blessed, and we receive. So God bless you all, and thank you again for listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. And again, as I remind you, next Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, please know that we wish you nothing but the best in Thanksgiving, and we wish you a happy Thanksgiving to each and every one. But we will not have a show, and we want you to take advantage of that time just to, you know, express your gratitude to not only the man above, but to each and every member of your family as well. And if you don't have family members that are living in their memory, just say thank you. And to those close to you, your friends, your neighbors, say thank you, because it really is a great day if you can rise up and just see daylight know that you're blessed. Just know that you're just totally, totally blessed. And we thank God for you and know that you are loved. So, after next Thursday, be sure to listen in every Thursday as we come on the air just to empower you, our listeners, and know again that you want to stay informed, you want to be informed, and you want to be empowered. That's what this show is about. Again, you've been listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards, and like you, like Patricia Gaines, keep standing and keep doing what is right and truthful. God bless. God bless.